Grab your rods and tackle box, folks, as we dive into the wild world of fishing. Get ready for some laughs, some fish stories, and a touch of chaos as we wade into the deep waters of fishing wisdom. Our guides on this trip are a know-it-all, a guy who desperately needs a haircut, and a man named Sam. In this podcast, this motley crew shares their knowledge, their latest fishing antics, and probably get into more trouble than they bargained for. It's a podcast as unpredictable as the sport of fishing. If you love fishing, then this is the place to be, because in this podcast, every catch is a big one. Every story is a keeper, and the only thing more legendary than the tales is the trio delivering them. Welcome to the Bait Tank.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Welcome to the Bait Tank. Today we are talking about fishing expos, conventions, seminars, all that good stuff. And then on the second half, we're talking about kayak and canoe setups and what we can do to interchange those based on the trips that we're going on and the experiences that we're going to be experiencing or going through. As usual, I have my two co-hosts, but we have a special guest tonight. I don't know if you can see her behind the microphone. My beautiful wife, Mrs. Yak, is joining us as well. Just you find her yet? Yep, there she is. She's going to be joining us today talking about some of the expo. We went to the Catfish and Crappie Conference up in Louisville, Kentucky this weekend. She did get a hold of some stuff and is wanting to show it off at some point. So we will have her on here talking about that at some point as well. But we also have Sam and Zach, Catfish Viking, who decided not to have his camera on. But everybody's here. There we go. All right. So everybody's here. So in case you don't know, I'm Anthony. I'm with Yakshire Outdoors. Mrs. Yak is Shayna. We have Sam from Sam's MPT Outdoors right here in the middle with the red shirt, looking handsome as ever. And then the guy with the fuzz on his face on the far right-hand side of the screen is Zach from Catfish Viking. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good weekend so far. For those of you coming in, like I said, we're talking about conventions and what is good about them, what is bad about them, what you can get out of them as an angler, and then also later on talking about kayak and canoe setups. So looking at the chat, we have David Smith in the house. We have Travis Young in the house. Hello, hello. Cold Creek Fishing Billy is in the house. Obviously, Mrs. Jack's hanging out in the chat as well. Fishing with JBT. Hello, Hillbilly Hondo. Welcome in. Dale Hayslip. Wow, that was awful.
You slipped on that one, didn't you?
I did. Yes, I did. Cavish Fever and Outdoors. Welcome in. Miss Lisa Swain is in here as well. Everybody, appreciate you guys coming in, checking us out. You are watching the Bait Tank. So, just to clarify, we went to this Catfish and Crappie Conference. It's a conference. What is a conference? Conference is a giant gathering of people sharing their knowledge or their love or their desire, passion, whatever descriptive, colorful words you want to use for that about a certain topic. But what can we get from a convention? What can we get from a seminar? What can we get from a trade show? I mean, there's all kinds of different ones out there depending on the subjects you're in. Zach here is his job for a living. He actually sells reptiles at shows and stuff. He's actually at one this weekend. He's actually tuning in from his hotel.
Wait, it's not. There we go. There it is.
There you go. And then I know Sam's done several. He's been to several gun shows, not necessarily any fishing shows or expos, but I myself have been through. I've actually been to 2 this year already. We went to the Smoky Mountain Expo in East Tennessee, a month and a half ago, and then to the Catfish and Crappie Conference this past weekend. And, yesterday, I should say. We left there this morning. So, but conferences, like I said, you group of people, you talk about stuff. What can you get at a conference? Sam and Zach, why don't you tune in and tell us about some stuff that you guys know you can see at conferences and trade shows and such. Don't be shy.
You can be in debt really fast at one of those things. That's for darn sure. I remember, so going to a gun show up here, there's like 50 tables. I went to Virginia Beach and there was like 800 tables, and I was just kid in a candy store. I spent 10 hours there, spent way too much money. And just, I was like taking notes of like, all right, things that I want, things I can never afford. And it was basically the same page. There were just a lot of cool things, like ideas that you can get for later down the road. Like when thermal, I remember thermal hunting was just becoming up and new. they had a bunch of scopes like that. And still now, like a decent scope like that is still like $2,000. So, you know, money can go by fast. That's the main thing I remember is self-control.
All right. And what about you, Zach? Let's speaking of which, you had mentioned money, Sam. There is a poll out there, guys. If you guys have been to an expo or a conference, we want to know about it, yes or no. There is a funny answer out there as well, specifically relating to the comment about money. That is definitely my wife and I. We've definitely spent some dollars at some of these things before. It's fun though. I mean, I'll talk about more in a minute, but you get to see new stuff, talk to new people, all that good stuff. Zach, you from a seller perspective or a vendor perspective, what do you get out of these?
By the end of the day, you're just done peopling. I'll just put it that way. You get about the same question 200 times. You're just done peopling
Yeah,
by the end of the day.
That is fair. That is
And
definitely fair.
I mean, show your vendors respect. That's the biggest thing. Like, we have people that are rude, and I don't put up with it. I did when I first started. I'll kick you off my table, but just be respectful to your vendors. That's your biggest thing, and listen to what they have to say, because 9 times out of 10, they have that product or make that product or something like that, and they know what they're talking about. And they're willing to spend that time to teach you something. At least take notes on it.
That's fair. Welcome back, Sam. Was DC for a minute. Amanda's in the back over there behind Zach, brushing her hair. Looks like she's looking fantastic as ever. Hello. For those who don't know, that is Mrs. Viking. Like I said, they're tuning in from their hotel today. So, some more hellos. Welcome in. Wannabe. Welcome in. Who did I say? I saw Russell. Russell was in here as well, I believe. So yeah, you guys are welcome in. If you got any questions, be sure to put them in the comments. We'll answer as best as we can as we go.
I got a question for you. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
What you got?
So I know all the expos that I've been has mostly been firearm related or hunting, just because it's bigger up here than fishing. Whenever I go to one of these shows, I always bring like my own gloves to actually show like if there's an antique or something, like I'm actually kind of serious. That way, I don't leave oil on things. Like, is that just... Do vendors actually like take that as like a sign of respect, or is it just like, oh, they're kind of like, I don't know.
My biggest thing as a vendor, just in the reptile world, I'd rather you ask me to pick up one of my animals and look at it than just grab it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I've got animals on my table. It'd be the same with guns and fishing stuff. Some of it's not worth that much. Some of it's in the thousands.
Yeah.
You drop that $1,000 animal, you're paying for it.
Like today, I had someone just like reach over to the table and just try to grab the gecko that's in my hand, and then I, kind of like pull it back. I was like, okay, let me explain what this gecko does. So if he jumps or whatever, it doesn't scare you, and you go,
She peoples a lot better than I people.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If you're dealing with stuff that costs a lot of money, I mean, you as a seller, obviously you're wanting to protect your product, but you as a buyer too. I mean, if you think about it, if 100 other people reach for it and touch it, and somebody dropped it before you get to it, and they say it was the last one or something, well, then you missed out.
That's happened to me actually. It's not.
I think generally speaking, if you treat everything as if it was your own, like you treat like you'd want it to be treated, just general, I guess I would say common sense, right? But who knows nowadays, right? But I mean, you're gonna be better off.
I have a comment.
What you got?
I will say at the fishing expos, in some ways, it is encouraged to pick things up and kind of fiddle with them. Like your rods, you want to get a feel for it before you pay for it. Otherwise, you may not buy what you're looking for.
Well, that is true.
Of course, they want you to be respectful. Don't be flinging it everywhere and stuff. Some things they prefer, like the individual plastics, for example, you wouldn't want to pick those up like by a handful and then toss them back in the container.
Well, right, because anywhere about them falling apart. But that just goes to show that it's really based on industry difference as well, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're at a gun show, you don't pick up a gun without talking to somebody because obviously they don't know if you've had any kind of safety training with it at all, and you could be pointing at people, and heaven forbid.
You would be surprised.
I said I would. That's what I said. I'm not saying
Yeah.
but like
I'm always respectful for vendors because I have to deal with 1,000 people a day. I only have to deal with this person for like 5 minutes. So it's like, hello, sir. Would you mind if I pick this up? If it's like an older, like vintage rifles or something, I was like, would you want me to bring gloves? I have a pair because I mean, some of those things like a trench pig. Just using this as an example, he had a $25,000 tag on it. So it's yeah.
It makes me cry a little bit over here just thinking about that, man. That is like, and she's sitting on a table. I mean, not the case.
I got to pick it up, so but I was gloved up too.
Sure.
I would never touch it.
But so we went to this catfish and crappie conference, and yes, there was I don't know, probably half the vendors there had rods.
Oh yeah.
And they're out there like, hey, go ahead and pick it up. Go ahead and pick it up. Well, obviously they're operating on the assumption you're not going to be smashing tips against things, and you don't. Hopefully, you're not dropping it, right?
Yeah.
Not that the fishing rod shouldn't be able to be dropped and be fine, but just the idea that it's a new product, and you want it to work for you. And then obviously there's another thing there. This one especially, with it being more of a conference as opposed to just a trade show, they do these seminars where every hour and a half they were announcing a new set.
Yeah, something like that.
And in this one particularly, they had two stages. They had a catfish stage and they had a crappie stage. And so there was different people, various tournament anglers, various vendor owners, stuff like that were going over stuff that they learned or stuff they experienced or the new products and whatnot. And it's good because it gives you a chance to see things from a different perspective. It gives you a chance to learn new stuff too. Like I know the first year I went to this, which was 3 years ago, there was a guy talking about forward-facing sonar and side scan, stuff like that, specifically looking for catfish and how he was able to take this fish, which normally, for those who don't know, if you do mess with fish finders, typically speaking, if you have a fish that has scales, it'll hit as a hotter temperature because it's like a hard object that's more like a rock as opposed to like muck. Well, the problem with catfish specifically is that they don't have scales. So the only thing you really get out of them is their spine. So they come back as like a medium reed, which can really, really hard to find them that way. But this guy was going through and explaining all these details and talk about the forward-facing sonar, how you can actually go just right and actually just find, even though you have that medium thing, if you know where the tree or the rock was, he was able to actually pinpoint and look at the fish's face. And it was crazy how clear that stuff could be. Just like it's a tool, like anything else, though. But yeah.
Yes, we're in one room.
Yeah, that would be nice if they would have done the seminars live for other people too. But I mean, that's one of the reasons they want the show people to come to the show, though, is to actually be there, and that's one of the attraction points, I guess, besides all the good deals and stuff you can get on gear and stuff.
That's why I sell mainly at shows. I don't do much online anymore because I may not people much, but I do want that interaction. I do want to be able to teach somebody about something. So that's the main reason I do shows.
I got you. Yeah, Baby Yak is in bed. Sorry about that, guys. We were hoping to see Baby Yak tonight. She was at the conference, though. Some people did get to see her and give her high fives and whatnot, get some of those smiles. Obviously, she's probably the most famous out of the three Yaks. She's definitely the cutest. Mrs. Yak being second. And we won't talk about where I'm at on that totem pole. But, whatever. But so you have the seminars, you have the information. And a lot of these, even if just the regular trade shows or even just straight up seminars, like there's some that are literally there. You go just for this one speech or this one, I don't want to say private showing. I'm not sure that's the right phrase, but this one class, I guess, of people want to learn a specific subject. And that's its own separate thing. But that you're there because who is advertised as the ones teaching that class, right? Whereas with the trade show, you're going because you're looking specifically for a piece of equipment or whatever. An expo or a conference is a combination of all the stuff. Typically, you're going to see new gear that's never come out or has just come out that year. You're going to see tried and true stuff, obviously, but you're also going to see a lot of sneak peeks into things that are upcoming as well. I know that I can't think of it off the top of my head now, but iCast is a good one. They do all kinds of crazy fishing stuff. And that one's huge. That one's down. I can't remember where it's at. I think it's somewhere in Florida, but they do this huge thing where they just advertise all the stuff they're putting out for the year, and it's in different categories. You got boating, kayaking, all that good stuff. But I mean, the stuff like that, it's still a show, right? And they're still trying to sell stuff. But the idea is that people are going there, they're exposing them to this new stuff that's coming out before it's even out in the market. And part of it so they can get funding and whatnot and stuff like that. But it definitely has to be put out there for people to see it, right? It's knowledge is power kind of thing. And Anthony Dale Day, welcome in. Yeah, you are correct. You do have to be invited to go to iCast specifically. But just in general, I mean, you can see this stuff at expos and trade shows where they are putting the stuff out there for people to be able to see it and whatnot. And it's just different. And it's like I said, it's just different. Where, like I said, trade shows or like Zach specifically is doing trade shows basically for his reptiles. People are going there looking specifically for these animals, and he's hopefully there to sell them to them. Right. And I will say, in yours specifically, we talk about respecting the vendors and whatnot. I don't know about the one you were currently at this weekend, but you deal with some venomous snakes sometimes too. So,
yeah.
Obviously, you don't want people just grabbing that one, right? If they have no idea what they're doing or been around it.
Well, I don't bring my venomous stuff. I do not breed, so I don't bring those to shows. My venomous stuff is mine. It's my personal pets. So
say you did. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want somebody reaching across and trying to touch a cottonmouth or something. So
I would have a totally different setup. That way, you couldn't touch anything.
Right.
Everything would be in a glass display because I don't want the responsibility of somebody being able to reach and grab stuff off my table if it's venomous.
Right. And then, like Sam was saying, he used gloves to be respectful to individuals with $25,000 objects, which it's unfathomable. I mean, okay, so that's as much as actually it's more than what I paid for my car, right? I mean, you're looking at a quarter of my house. Geesh. I mean, on a table, and you're holding your fingers.
I mean, it was one of a kind. This was unissued, like World War One, like the only shot, like the first shotgun. Like it was one of a kind. Like and I've always found too, like if you're respectful with the vendors and you're serious about buying something, when you're at a show like that, there's a lot more lean away with like the prices. So.
Now that I can say is true, and that showed up a lot this weekend, where a lot of us were getting, you buy two, you get an extra one free, or if you bought two, you got an extra 5% off. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. And there's definitely deals out there that they're willing to share with you for sure, and it makes a big difference. So
yeah, it's like, well, I definitely want this cordless hole puncher, but the batteries for it are so expensive.
Right. Yeah. Man, so and I guess that's the difference between that's another thing too. I mean, we talked about in another episode, we talked about getting the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, it's just another avenue to do something like that if you can go to one of these shows.
I mean, I'll cut you a better deal on a reptile at a show because you're right there in front of me. I'm talking to you in person than I would online. So
I mean, that makes sense. Another thing too, you're saving on shipping too. I mean, Oh
yeah, because my shipping, I do $70 flat rate shipping, and it's overnight. It's through a company that ships reptiles. So I mean, normally, if you're over like $300, I'll cover the shipping cost.
But yeah. But I mean, if you're going there and you want to, say you want to dabble a little bit of everything, or you want to see it in person. Like we went to the Expo up in the Southeast, the Fishing Expo up in Gatlinburg. I'm going to butcher the name 100 times.
I'm about to say, think about it.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't want to sit here forever and smoke come out of my ears. But there was a bunch of lures that I knew were coming out that I wanted to see, and I knew that some of them were going to be there. And so I was able to actually go see them in person. And on top of that, I was able to get 1 or 2 packs as opposed to having to buy 5 or 6 packs to get the free shipping. So, I mean, it makes a big difference,
It does.
You can see somebody doing that way for sure. At least did miss them, but it happens. It's all good. I know that you'll be around some other stuff. You'll see them eventually. It's all good.
And reptile shows are deadly for me, so I can only imagine what fishing show or expos would be for me.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I spent too much at reptile shows to begin with. Like I
yeah,
almost bought button quills today. Button quills, man.
why? I mean, is that a bird? You said a quail, right?
Yeah, it's a button. It's the smallest quill in the world
At a reptile show.
at a reptile show. And then I walked around half the day with a 4-day-old lamb in my arms, cuddling a lamb half the day.
Oh, this is a reptile show. What is this? Lambs, quails.
Sounds like
Were the
Ben,
fish
I'll
there
tell you.
too?
Hey,
Sheesh.
we do have a dude that comes and vends koi fish at the show. He breeds koi.
Oh, okay. Well,
There's
you know, whatever.
actually a lot of money in that. I used to do that in high school when
I
I
will-
was in rats.
I will say, that, even this catfish conference, there was definitely, it's an outdoors type stuff, right? So you attract that crowd. They were doing raffles for some guns and stuff this year. They did some last year. I was there too, and they do raffles for other stuff too, not just for fishing gear. I've seen them do it for wood carvings or, like stuff for your car, stuff like that too. I mean, there's definitely stuff out there to do, and a lot of these things. So I was talking to Shane about that today. Actually, a lot of the way they price these things, the kids get in free or get in a lot cheaper, and it works out good because if you're say you're married to someone who has absolutely no interest in what you're doing, but your kids want to go, or you want to go, but the only way you can go is if you take your kids. Well, you still can, and there's still stuff there for the kids to do too. I mean, they had a casting contest thing. They even had a cornhole thing. They had a bounce house. Yeah, I mean, my daughter wanted to go in that bounce house so bad, but she's too little. And those kids are so big and so rough. I was like, I can't let you go in there.
But they're also trying to get kids into
But-
the community and into the it's a great way to get kids involved in being outdoors and having that financial strain on parents getting involved in this kind of stuff.
It's like the people I'm contracted to for the reptile shows, 12 and under gets in free.
Right. Well, with this CatCon, they calling it for short, but the Catfish Conference, it was 16 and under with free.
Under 15.
Or something. Yeah, it was worded like something like that. But yeah, it was significant amounts. I mean, literally, all of my kids I could take with. I only have one, but I'm saying, say I had 6 kids. Well, I now have something I can do. It only costs me money, and they can still get in, and I still get to go look at all the stuff and whatnot. So it works out good. It's definitely, like she said, a good way to get other people into the sport and exposed. So just a matter of getting there and doing it. But having these types of things available for people to do is huge, and Shannon can even tell you the first year we went, she didn't know anybody. I didn't really know anybody. Obviously, I'm more of a talker than she is, and that's fine. But we went, we had a decent time. I may or may not have almost killed my daughter because we didn't know if she was allergic to nuts, and I gave her peanut butter ice cream, but that's a whole nother story. So
She's not allergic.
yeah, she ended up being allergic. But we were like halfway through the ice cream cone, and it dawned on me there was peanut butter, and she's never had anything with peanuts in it before. And I was like, yeah, I thought for sure that I might have accidentally almost killed my daughter. But luckily it didn't happen. And so here we are. We missed last year. We got to go this year. But she had a much better time this year. She did know people, got to know even more people.
She's probably still scared of me.
Do what? Your daughter, I'm sure. I was talking about Shayna at this point.
Oh.
Does Josie, did she remember anybody? She remembered one person. Who was it? She remembered Naomi. David Lemon's wife of Double Hook Angling. He was there. She was there. And she remembered, I don't know how she remembered Naomi because we've only met her once. But yeah, she knew who she was right off the bat and went right to her. So it was cool.
And she's met me several times and she runs from me.
That's because your face.
It's the hair on the face. I'm telling you, man. But Shayna had a better time. Josie had a pretty good time. Josie was starting to get a little fussy at the end. That's why we left so early today. Come back. But
it's a hard thing on the top.
Yeah, I mean, when she couldn't do the bouncy house and she couldn't quite do any other stuff other than walk around and look at things, obviously it can get a little boring. And that's, I guess, the drawback of dragging kids along and stuff like that is if they're not interested, well, then you got to either make them interested.
She was interested. Tell them what she made you buy.
Oh, you're right. The first day we were there, she was getting kind of fussy during the Golden Whisker Award, so I walked around. We walked and we walked and walked, probably 3 or 4 laps. I was weaving in through the tables and whatnot with her. And we get walking. I'm on the opposite end of the aisle, and she makes me do like a 90-degree turn, like almost makes me break my ankle. I'm trying to like step on her, right? She found a knife sharpener. That's what she wanted. This bright yellow knife and hook sharpener. She insisted on having it. I could not get her to budge away from that table. Reaching, fussing, all that good stuff. Like basically climbing up my leg, trying to get behind me to reach it. And that's what she wanted. So
She's interested in the rod. She's interested in the reel. She's interested in the plastic. I mean, it's just that with her age, she's limited on the things she can enjoy there. Next year will be more fun for her, I think.
It will be. And we're actually hoping to get her. We're actually working with her on a Jack in a Box right now. It's a Jack in a Box, but it's got a billy goat that pops out. It's got ghost inside. Kind of cute. But anyway, but it has that reeling motion, so we're working on that. So hopefully she'll be maybe fishing and reeling some fish this summer, but we'll see. But back to the whole trade show thing, reeling it all back in. The whole point of this is that you get better deals on stuff. You get to meet new people. You get to meet some pros, both pro staff and actually like tournament anglers. There was a ton of them there this year. There was a ton of them there the first year I went to, but there was definitely seemed to be a lot more of them this year. And then depending on the group that you're with or the topic of the event, like in our case is the fishing community, they had a whole entire section just set up for YouTubers, so we could all do meet and greet, pass out stickers, all that good stuff with each other. And that, to me, that's freaking awesome. Especially if you're new to YouTube in general, but just saying new to that crowd, be able to get your foot in the door, you get some names and some faces put together, and it's a good time for sure. But yeah, well, I really don't have that much more to say about this one. This was kind of this first hour is just like talk about this because we went to one this weekend. Do you guys have anything else to add about conferences and expos and whatnot? Any other rules of thumb or advice or tips for maybe saving a little extra money besides just being nice to everybody?
You can haggle with people.
That is true. You can definitely haggle.
There's a fine line there, though.
There is. I mean, and it really probably depends on the company you're with, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the companies that are newer are probably a little more open to haggling, just because they're still trying to figure out what's like the good price for them to sell their stuff at. So the newer vendors, especially, seem like they haggle a lot more. Whereas the ones that kind of been there a while or a bigger company are kind of a little more set in stone. And it really just depends. Like I know, we were looking at the Mad Cat's booth, and Shayna was going to buy. We were getting her 3 rods for her Christmas and birthday present, and she went up and said, "Hey, you guys any special going on for buying more than one?" And the guy looked at me and I said, "Not really, not unless you're buying like 6." Well, man, I mean, if you're decking out a whole boat, okay, sure, that's fine. But if you so stuff like that, it's a little bit different. You obviously can't get the haggling on that. But like
You get to skip out on
Freddie with FO, well, you do get to skip on the shipping fee still. So you still get a discount. It just may not be as much as like somebody else. Like I said, FOA was there this year. He was willing to haggle on stuff if you were buying a bunch of it at once. And he was doing it wasn't like you had to buy 5 rods. It was like if you bought a rod, the second one you got $5 off.
No. You bought 2, you got 5 off the third.
Sorry, whatever, something like that. Either way, you didn't have to buy a bunch of them to get it. And then if you're buying terminal tackle, he would cut you some slack too, depending on what you got, which is cool. And then Guard Dog, they were showing stuff different. They actually letting you touch the stuff 100% and actually like test it out and everything before you buy it.
Awesome.
It was pretty cool. And I mean, there was a ton of stuff out there too. And there was a ton of crappie booths that had hand poured plastics, and they were literally like letting you look at them. Like, here, go ahead and take a look at this, touch this, see how this moves. Stuff like that, which is cool. And a lot of them had the little water tanks to actually show the action of the lures and whatnot too. So, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for going to these shows and seeing it firsthand. But it also, in our case, like I knew that I wanted specifically a couple of things, and Shayna knew that she specifically wanted to get a couple of things. So with that being in mind, the first day we went there, we literally walked laps to see what all was available, make sure there wasn't something else we were forgetting about or that piqued our attention more. And then at that point, we went across all the booths looking for the best price. Because there are some that carry the same stuff, a different deal going on. You just have to go around and ask. And you'd be surprised on necessarily which ones actually had the better deal too. Sometimes it wouldn't always make sense, but it was definitely different. And I will say that was Bank Fishing Fish talking about some guy was trying to sell them dip bait. There was six companies, I think, that were selling bait there. One that had they claimed the original cheese bait. Then there was the Dark Waters bait, which did different types of cut bait that was prepackaged. There was another one there that was selling Asian carp that was flavored with different stuff, which I thought was cool because, you know, obviously Asian carp are a problem species here in the States. That's something to do with it, at least. Instead of wasting or putting in fish sticks. So yeah, that was kind of cool to see too. I mean, it's just different stuff. But then there was another guy. There's a lot of different people selling pre-made rigs, but there was one booth in particular that sold some. It was like a inline tubing dragging rig, which was interesting. Wasn't really my cup of tea. I wouldn't be opposed to trying it sometime, but I didn't pick any up this year. But there was definitely some different things out there, and it's a lot of the stuff I would not have heard of or saw unless I was there. You know, you had to walk by it and see it, or be told about it by somebody else in order to know about it, kind of thing. So there's definitely the pros are going. You usually get better deals, at least saving on shipping if nothing else. You can haggle on some things. You're going to find something that's new, and you're going to make a lot more connections, which as a YouTuber benefits you greatly, and just as an angler can benefit you greatly, meeting new people, finding more fishing buddies, having a contact in an area. Like if you were there's people that came from across the country to see this. So like I wanted to go to Texas for something. Well, now I have somebody down there I can talk to and maybe try to get some more info from because I met them at this. I know they're at least a somewhat decent person. They like fishing, right? They got to be somewhat okay. So, you know, there's benefits. And the cons obviously being you have to drive to these expos. For us, it was a 5.5 hour drive, I think, up there. That was pretty rough. But other than that, it wasn't too bad.
5.5 hours ain't that far.
No, not compared to 24 hours to Reno and back with nothing but ice storms. I mean, I'm not complaining. 5.5 hours wasn't that bad, but I mean, like for somebody who only, you know, maybe drives 30 minutes max a day for work or something. I mean,
I think the furthest reptile show I've drove for was 11 hours to Chicago. No. Oh, she didn't fall asleep on me. I think it was like 11 or 12 hours to Chicago.
I got you. But yeah, so at this point, I'm going to start showing some of the stuff that we got just because it kind of feeds into the next section for me at least. But I know Shayna's really wanting to show off some of the stuff she got, guys. So I'm going to pull up on solo here, or somewhat solo, so I can show it to you because she was really, really wanting to show you guys.
Sure. I'll give you the screen, bro.
Let's show yours first. That's fine. You're the one that wanted to show this
I
stuff.
have all the FOA stuff in my bag.
Well, that's fine. So we'll do the FOA bag. I've recently met Freddie in person, which is cool.
We met him at the gathering.
Met at the gathering last year, and I've met him in tournaments with other stuff like that too. But he sells all kinds of cool stuff. We got these peg floats. I went ahead and got some planer boards for the kayak. We talk about more about those in a little bit. Shayna got a bunch of their fishing line. Shayna likes to color match. Okay, that's what it boils down to. So she bought these new rods. She has these reels, and she has this line that she wanted specifically because it's this color. And I'll show you the combination when she has it all tied up together. It actually looks really good. But she was very adamant that that's what we do is color coder. I got some other hooks to try. Always looking out for new hooks.
Josie loved those.
Yes, Josie loved these things, these little line rattles. She definitely was playing with those for forever. And then they also had, where'd they go? These buzz rattles. This, because I drag for my kayak a lot, I think this could be interesting because these spin based on the current and then they sound just a little bit different. I think it could be good. And it's something I wanted to try. And then I got normal stuff, some sinker slides and some swivels. And I did get some of his shorter, stumpy dragon weights to give a try with also. And I'm looking forward to trying all this stuff. But Shayna. Oh, I also picked up. I guess I kind of like color matching. I like having sets of the same thing because I know how they work. And then I don't have to worry about being surprised. So So I was able to get more of the 6-foot kayak rods that he sells, which was nice. So now I have a full set of those, which is going to be awesome. I got really good chance to use one last year and fell in love with them. I also picked up some of these for striper and white bass fishing for floating cut bait underneath, or catfish too, for that matter. You can buy ones that work, but the ones that tend to be skinnier and taller for some reason do not hold the bait up well. And I've never been able to get around that. So I found some of these finally. The only ones I've been able to find that are like this, I don't like buying them at Academy and Bass Pro because they're popping corks, which are fine. I've used them in saltwater. But if I'm buying that and I'm paying, 5 times the price, I don't want to cut all the metal wire out of it to make it work. So I was able to get some of these, which is nice. Shayna went ahead and got these to try. We have some good friends in the guard dog community. So she wanted to get some of these to try. We do fish some waters that tend to have a lot of smaller nuisance channel cats. So we're looking forward to trying those out. We're actually going to try them all out tomorrow with her new rods. She had those all color coded too. And another nice thing, so we're talking about skipping shipping, right? Obviously, if you're buying sinkers at the store, that's all fine and dandy. If you're buying it at one of the big box stores, you're probably going to be limited on the size you can get to, right? Catfish Conference, there's a couple different booths that sell sinkers. This one in particular was the Sinker Shed. I was able to get a whole entire bag of 8-ounce disc sinkers for significantly cheaper per sinker than I would get online, and I didn't have to pay any shipping at all, which made it even cheaper. Because lead's heavy and it takes forever and costs forever to ship. So,
I won't lie, I haven't paid for a sinker in like 6 years. I just make my own.
There's another wrong with that. I mean, if you can make them your own, that's fine. I wasn't able to do that. Oh, this is another thing. I've never heard of this. This is definitely something I'm going to try this year. And I knew that this could happen, but I never thought about just making a strap. So Zach and I fish from a kayak. If you're catching big catfish and you need one to stay still, you tie what's called a tail loop. Or in this case, you buy a cat strap. It's literally a Velcro strap that fits around the catfish's tail to make them chill out.
I bet that's a little more safer on the catfish than a rope.
Probably, but then on top of that, these ones they sell them in packs of 3, and they're color coded for tournament anglers because they'll have one that's smaller and 2 that are bigger. Because a lot of the tournaments that keep the live fish, not just to catch photo release, do 2 over and 1 under. For those that know what that means, it's 2 fish that are oversized and 1 that's smaller. Because a lot of states only allow 2 fish over a certain size. So the color coded so you know which fish is which too, which is pretty sweet. But in my case, I would just be taking one of the large ones for safety reasons. But I thought that was pretty cool. And I wouldn't have known that existed without going to CatCon and seeing it. That lady was really nice to talk to too. We've got some bait towels. We got a Catfish Conference bait towel. I think that's what we got. I think it might have been
A
it.
bunch of stickers in my rod.
Yeah, we did do a bunch of trading stickers. Got to meet a lot of good people. I'm going to show her one of her rods because she's really proud of this. Make sure you hand me the one that's not going to fall over. Slide the middle one over. And then just hand me the reel. That way we don't stick it in the fan. But she got the new Mad Cat. It's called the Fins, which is the teal and orange.
That's really cool.
Orange, right?
I like that one.
First, we got our Chinese brand that we really love. I'm not going to try pronouncing it again. Bait render reels, but she got the Freddy FOA gold line to go with it. Looks really good. I hope it does her well. So we're hoping to try all that stuff, and it's all stuff that we
These are my first catfish rods.
can't buy local. And yeah, like I said, for Christmas and for her birthday, I was trying to get her own set of catfish rods that were hers completely and weren't mine or hands off or anything, hand me downs or anything like that. But yeah, so obviously, again, I know this is supposed to be a 2-part show. It's supposed to be a 2-hour show, but this one's gonna be a little bit shorter. It's been a long weekend. We've been traveling all weekend. So we're going to go into the next topic. We're going to take a 2-minute intermission. So kick back, get some drinks. If you guys need anything, go use the restroom if you need to. We'll be back in a minute. And we'll keep on rolling with the party, talking about kayak and canoe setups and what we can do to make it easier when chasing different species or going to different areas. So we will be right back. See you guys very soon.
Grab your rods and tackle box, folks, as we dive into the wild world of fishing. Get ready for some laughs, some fish stories, and a touch of chaos as we wade into the deep waters of fishing wisdom. Our guides on this trip are a know-it-all, a guy who desperately needs a haircut, and a man named Sam. In this podcast, this motley crew shares their knowledge, their latest fishing antics, and probably get into more trouble than they bargained for. It's a podcast as unpredictable as the sport of fishing. If you love fishing, then this is the place to be, because in this podcast, every catch is a big one. Every story is a keeper, and the only thing more legendary than the tales is the trio delivering them. Welcome to the Bait Tank.
Well, welcome back. Like I said, we're doing a couple-minute intermission for people to get drinks and all that good stuff. We just got done talking about conferences, expos, seminars, and whatnot. Kind of the difference between all those, what you can or can't get from those. How pretty much no matter what, the pros outweigh the cons and all that good stuff. Oh, okay. Mrs. Jack will be retiring, so for y'all that want to say goodnight, there she is. She's coming to get her phone charger, and then she is going to bed. So, yeah, baby Jack's already asleep. Mommy Jack's going to sleep now. I'll be following behind very shortly.
I'll be chatting for a little bit.
But she'll be in the chat if y'all want to keep chatting with her. Feel free. But yeah, so the next half, you know, Zach and I especially, we fish out of the kayak a lot. It's kind of our forte, our thing.
Yeah.
Sam does partake in kayak fishing as well. He also fishes out of a canoe occasionally. Which, for those who don't know, Sam only has one leg, so it makes for a very interesting perspective on fishing and stuff like that. Kind of like our good friend David from Double Hook Angling, who fishes out of a kayak in his wheelchair. So, but everybody here that does this will tell you, and I'm sure you get some of you guys in chat that fish out of a kayak speak for this as well. There's two major things when it comes to kayaks. One is your comfort, and one is your efficiency. Two is your efficiency. And what affects that is going to be your setup, flat out, no matter what you do, no matter how you look at it. How your kayak is going to change not only your perspective on what you can or can't do, but also set up your limitations to what you can or can't do. But there are things you can do to... You all right, Sam?
How are you guys hearing me? I have my mic muted.
Well, we can definitely hear you, bud.
Yeah.
Hope you're all right.
No, I inhaled the dog hair. I am sorry, guys.
It is what it is. It's what happens when you have a St. Bernard. But anyway, so welcome back, sir. Glad
Wait,
that you're.
can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
What the heck?
What
about now?
No, still here.
Yeah.
This is some
Bloopers, baby,
X-Files
bloopers.
stuff. It must be my webcam. I haven't bought one since I was like 18. So there must be a microphone in the webcam, and I've been using my headset this entire time like a noob.
But yeah, it's all good. So
Embarrassing.
you're good, man. You're good. This is definitely going to be a clip, though, for sure.
Lovely.
Oh, you hear
Right here, Swain said good night, everyone. Well,
Good night, man.
thanks for thinking about it for a second, but I hope you have a good night. Sorry we missed you at the show, but we'll definitely catch up sometime. It's setups, kayak setups. We're talking about kayak setups, how we do things, right? For me, I do multi-species. Zach used to do multi-species. Zach's primarily catfish now, but even he has a setup that he'll use for different types of catfishing, anchor fishing,
Yep.
shallow fishing, deep river fishing, lake fishing. I mean, it's all gonna be a little bit different. Bass angling is probably the one that you see the most change, based on where they're going, if they're fishing shallow or not. But because their seasons change so much, a lot of those guys change baits so much that even what their rods, where the rod's sitting, how their fish finder set up, all that stuff will change even during the season too. So you hear about that a lot more from their side of things. And then you have the recreational weekend warriors, such as myself, or I would argue Sam in this case, where we don't necessarily fish in the kayak all the time, but it's definitely going to be different from one day to the next for the most part on what we do or what we
Here lately, I'd be called a weekend warrior, but I got a vehicle now.
That's true. when Zach had a car that was working, he was fishing pretty much every day after work, and then on the weekends he was fishing all weekend. So he was definitely putting some time in.
We'll be
But,
going fishing Tuesday.
There you go. But like for me, the last time I went in the kayak was a couple weeks ago, and then I'm going again here in a couple weeks, and then I got a tournament next month that I'm competing in. But for me, if I'm bass fishing, I don't have any rod holders on it at all. If I do, I have one maybe just to hold the rod for me to be able to tie on baits. But I'm gonna have one rod. I'm sorry, one rod holder maybe. I'm gonna have my fish finder set up closer to me where I can actually like use the size can, look for stuff. And then I'm gonna have in between 6 and 8 rods in the back, all different baits, all different setups. But I tie them all ahead of time with the idea that I can just change it out as I need to for what I see. And then for crappie fishing, same thing. I want that fish finder really close to me. I'm gonna have maybe 3 rods, but one set up for live minnows, one set up for jigs, and one set up for maybe tiny crankbaits. Nothing too crazy there, or for trolling, I guess, or long what's it called, long lining or something like that, where you basically have the rod, you're trolling rather than being like 20 feet behind you, it's like 60 feet behind you. And on those, you really can't ever tell if you have a fish unless they really smack it hard. It's kind of like you go past something and then just reel in as if you have one. That's more if you're like just trying to find them because they're scattered. But then for catfishing, I'll have 4 rod holders at least. If I'm anchor fishing from the kayak, I'll have the 4 rod holders I already have set up for everything else. But then I'll use the 2 that are in the kayak already built in as well. So I'll have a potential of 6 rods to use if I'm anchor fishing like off an island or something. But if I'm drifting or dragging, I'm gonna run just 4. And that's kind of just like mindset. I have those are my three main setups. My bass one, where it's fish finders close to me so I can actually see the screen good, all the extra rods in the back. Crappie one, again, more rods in the back, but screen set up close. But on that one, I try to have, on the crappie one, I try to have set up where I actually can use an anchor or a drift sock at least to kind of control. Cause I end up just following with the wind because for whatever reason, crappie and wind are like go hand in hand. When it comes to where they sit on the structure like that, it's just like it's 2 peas in a pod. I mean, that if you're wanting to be a better crappie angler, study the wind and roll with the wind. I can tell you that right now. That's one of the biggest keys to success with crappie fishing. But then for my catfish one, I don't run any anchors with the catfishing one. No shallow water poles, no nothing. I'm running just the pedals. I'm just actively fishing as best I can and rolling with it. But that's my setups mostly. Very little things. And like I said, when we get a little further into this next half, we're going to talk a little bit more about changing things on the fly. Or like in our case for Zach and I, we're going down to fish for redfish down in Florida. My setup's going to change drastically for that trip. I don't know about his. And then there was some modifications I plan on doing in my kayak later this year for later on in the future for the benefit some of my other types of fishing. But I'm going to lean over to Sam for a minute because Zach's been talking a lot, and so have I. Sam, let's talk about your setup, especially with the fact that you are limited in the terms of leg capacity. Maybe some things you have to consider for your setup that maybe not everybody else thinks about, or if there's somebody else in the crowd that's in the same situation, maybe they can give them a hand.
So I have like one of those old-fashioned kayaks that you kind of see at Walmart because, for people that don't know, prosthetics are very expensive. Like mine that I'm currently wearing costs around $30,000. So I would hate to tip over. And even though this thing is very secure to me, there's always that what if. So that doesn't go. And with me not having any real, I guess, shade if I were in like a paddle kayak or something like that, I'm worried about the sun because if I get a sunburn on that area, it's very sensitive as it is. I can't imagine that feeling good. So I just have one of the old paddle kayaks that you used probably like 15 years ago. I can throw everything because I do have extra leg space. I throw like an extra collapsible like rod and stuff like that. I have a cooler with snacks and beverages tied behind me. And if I get a fish worth keeping, I just throw a stringer over the side. So my poles are right beside me, and I have like those. This is going to sound so redneck. You know, like those fasten pole holders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have those on each side. So if I want to do trolling, I can do hands free till I get a fish, set the hook, reel it in, and honestly, when I was going to the gym regularly, I could troll for salmon on that thing.
Nice.
So,
Very nice.
Because you only need to go like 2 knots. So I would just consider that my workout for the day.
There you go.
Half an hour of trolling, and yeah, I'd be done. So it definitely has its cons and its pros, but honestly, the extra room, because I mean, you got to think like an entire leg's worth of space. That's, you know,
That's a good chunk depending on how big your leg is. That's
yeah,
for sure.
So I just keep all my tackle, things like that. And if I get like a decent sized fish, I can also throw him in there because it's a 12 foot. Yeah, it's a 12-foot kayak that I use. So there's enough room there.
Now, you were saying one that you used like 12 years ago. Is this a sit-in kayak or is it a sit-on-top?
It's a sit-in kayak because I'm worried about the sun.
Some clarification. Yeah. I got you. No. Yeah. I got you. That's cool. So I will say, I if you ever decide, just because I guess I'm a cruel person, if you ever decide to film yourself getting in that thing, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Man.
I mean, do you do like a bipedal walk to get in? I mean, not a serious question. I'm trying to figure out how you like. I'm a
it's
visual
a 2-person
person.
job.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Because I'm a visual person. I'm sitting here. I'm thinking about you bent over on your hands and got that 1 foot just a kicking trying to get in there.
So I have to wear shorts when I'm doing this too because this thing, I'm wearing PJs right now, but it sits all the way up here, like up my thigh. So, you know, has to be warm weather. I'm very limited. I like either that or I could have like a blanket or something in there.
For those that don't know, Sam is starting his channel. It's called Sam's Amputee Adventures. He has 0 videos on that yet. If you're interested in seeing more of his stuff, make sure you put comments on it, get him going. I don't know if he's just not motivated. I'm not sure what the deal is. He just hasn't done it yet. We got to get him going.
With my situation, it takes 2 years after an amputation to fully heal. So I'm on very strict medical restrictions. And this is something like I had a little whoopsie, like just a little mistake, and I broke my leg. And that set the healing process. Like I got lucky. I could have had another amputation on the same leg.
Oh, wow.
And it came that close from that. And that was just me being a little bit too confident. So I have to take my restrictions very seriously. And I decided to make this channel while I was in recovery. Actually, I think I was talking to you at that because you
were.
Yeah, I was binge watching your videos. I was trying to keep motivated because I was in bed for 4 or 5 weeks, not being able to do anything. And I realized everybody has 2 feet. There's no, like, I feel like I would have like a neat little, I don't want to say advantage, but I could reach like a different audience. And
so you definitely have a unique niche for sure.
Yeah.
Sam, I'm going to buy you a peg leg.
So I'm worried about those. You got to think like you're putting your entire weight.
Wooden stick.
Yeah, wooden stick.
Yeah.
So I thought about it. I'm like, no, it takes me a good like week or 2 just when I switch feet because that has happened. And my new one is a lot more narrower. I was walking like I was drunk for 2 weeks straight. Just like...
I can only imagine you with a peg leg
now. We're going fishing if that happens.
I promise I'm not a mean person, Cat. I'm honestly curious.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a firm believer that if somebody is strong enough of the will, they can get what they want done. And there's no doubt in my mind that Sam can do that. But yes, I'm looking forward to him actually getting some of his videos going. But I do want to see you get into a kayak. I do want to see that process.
I want
I
to
can
see you
probably do
walk on a peg leg now.
I have talked to
Yeah.
the process about that. There was that one and a shotgun leg because I saw it in a movie once.
Oh, geez, yeah.
and
Boom.
I have the shotgun that would fit this thing, and he's like,
Oh, come on.
I know I do. I have a
Jeez.
870, it would fit. And he's
Man.
like, my leg guy, he's like, I can do that. But you got to remember, a 12 gauge has a lot of recoil.
That's
And
fair.
where is that
Yeah,
going?
that's a good point. That is a good point. I guess you'd have to be sitting.
Well, I mean, you just got to
Yeah,
bend the
right.
knee a little bit when it fires, and you'll be all right.
No, that still sounds painful. like that end, like if anybody just touches it, like that isn't in. Sometimes if a doctor grabs it too fast, like I just want to like, just out of
Bark.
reflex, like
Yeah.
no,
Right? Oh, geez, I can only imagine, man.
like you'd be nice to that. You talk to it first, like.
Jeez. But anyway, so back to the topic. We talk about kayak setup. So Sam yeah. This is hard to reel back in. Sam only has one leg, so he has a unique perspective when it comes to setting up his kayak. He takes advantage of the room he has by only using one leg to store more stuff in his sit-inside kayak.
It works.
It does, no, for sure. You know, a guy like me, I'm carrying
He's
around.
got an advantage at this point. He's
All right,
does.
wait.
got
I will
more
get
space.
into my sit-in kayak. I will film this. I'll put it. Probably would be my first video because that's something I could actually do at this point.
Sure,
I want to see you get in a sit-in kayak.
dude. I don't even think they make a sit-in kayak big enough for me to sit in. Come
I
on.
have a sit-in kayak at the 10-footer.
All right, Zach, you get the kayak and you get some butter just to be on the safe side.
The hole's only like this big. It's gonna be great.
Why the butter?
This show is going south fast. Wow. Sheesh.
This is how you get more views.
I guess. Well, only Butters over here. Sheesh.
If we
That's
get
what I saw.
100 likes, we get to shove Anthony in the sit-in kayak.
That's gonna be awful.
All right, let's
Cut it
go
out with the
five.
jigsaw. You know what?
Let's just go with 5 because I really want to see this happen.
With five. Oh, you heard it, guys. There's 5 like. Oh, there's already 7. Oh man, we have to do it. Jeez.
I'll bring it with me when I come up there to go to Florida.
That
I'm
works.
just gonna leave
Yes,
it at your
it's
house.
gonna be awful. It's gonna be awful.
This is
We'll have to do it
great.
live. We'll have to do it live. But what was I talking about again? Oh, kayak setups. Okay. So y'all are awful. Anyway, so Sam has a unique perspective of having more leg room because he has one leg, whereas the rest of us have 2. But his setup, he's talking about, is pretty much the same. He runs a trolling setup on his sitting kayak. Has ability to fish other stuff as well. Do you have any other things that would change the way you set up your kayak, Sam, besides obviously what you've already talked about?
Not really, honestly. Like pretty much everything's been the same. I do need help because
Sure.
getting in, I just don't have that that I used to.
Sure.
And I will say, like, I have used my kayak for trolling, but I mostly use it to get into like the well, you've seen some of the log or like river systems that we have here that's
Oh yeah,
impossible to go through.
with a boat.
Yeah. Sometimes just like an Indian River where I'm from, there's places you can't, not unless you get waders, and then you got to bring those like a mile if you're going to walk. Or, yeah.
Yeah, I remember some of those spots. Hillbilly Hondo says he sees a whisker award coming our way next year for that video.
I
So I
see
guess
a
we
lot
have
of shorts coming from this episode.
Probably.
So, what is a whisker award?
Okay, so the Cavish and Crappie Conference we went to this past weekend, they specifically have, it's hosted by Paul Meadow Cats. Kevin's an awesome dude, but it's the Golden Whisker Awards, and literally there's like 25 categories of things that could possibly happen. You submit your video clips or other people's video clips to that, and they get voted on. And it gets knocked down depending on the category. I think most of them get down to the top, the 3 favorites, and then those get posted again for the public to vote on. Um,
Huh.
sorry, let me rephrase. I think I had that backwards. It's set out to the public to vote on to start with, and then out of all those, the top 3 go, and then there's a panel that votes the best out of those 3, and then they actually get an award, physical award, like a medal or a trophy, depending on the one they get. At this conference every year, which is pretty cool. And it's on the Friday of the conference, so we actually got to watch that last night. There's a lot of good stuff.
I have a great idea. We could do a side by side. I will just hop with like without one leg, and we could be like, who did it better? Like getting into the kayak.
Oh man, maybe.
I've seen Anthony get in a kayak. My money's on you, Sam.
Oof. That hurts.
Depending on how much butter you use, you might just slide.
Well, I have a sit on top of kayak. I don't need butter to get on that one. Okay.
No, we're talking about the sit in. We're talking about the sit in kayaks.
That's fair. It'll be interesting for sure. But
yeah, the fire department on standby. Like, we'll never had to use the jaws of life for this before.
Anthony, the hole on this kayak is tiny. Skinny thoughts, my friend. Skinny thoughts.
Skinny thoughts. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna drag you up here now. Goofy looking face over there. I'm gonna talk about your setup, man. I know, like you said, I know we talked about earlier how you have a little bit different setup based on the technique you're using. But do you have anything major that you change differently based on specific things? And if so, what is that?
Well, I went way overboard on rod holders. We'll just put it that way.
We do know that. Why don't you go ahead and let the crowd know how many rod holders you have on that kayak?
14.
Dude, I have 2.
It's a 12-foot kayak, right? It's I believe 12-foot kayak, 14 rod holders. Now, I will say, the first time I went fishing with this guy in our kayaks, he had a stern mount trolling motor that he drove it with. When he tangles. It is not something he can do lightly. I remember looking over, he's like, I'm good. And I remember looking over again, and he's half a mile behind me going, I'll catch up. Because then you see all of his rods are bent under the boat. You know, they're all stuck in the motor. It was absolutely hilarious to watch him try to untangle that on the river.
Don't you have a clip of that too?
I do, but you're so far away you can't see it.
Oh.
You zoom in and it's just blurry because how far back you were. But it was ridiculous.
Now I have an XI3 on the front of the kayak.
that should prevent your tangles unless you're trying to go backwards upstream. So you should be okay. But it was so hilarious.
Or I do donuts, either or.
Yeah. But 14 rod holders, that's insane.
Well,
do you leave those on all the time?
Well, the way me and the company that made my rod racks for the kayak, because my rod racks are custom made. I'm a pro staff member of a company that we specifically designed these rod racks for my kayak.
What company was that?
Raptor Racks.
Raptor Racks. Okay. So you made these custom racks with these guys. You designed this. So how many actual bars are you have? I mean, for those who don't know, usually a bar is going to have in between 3 and 4 rod holders attached to it.
Okay, there's one for each side of the front. It's about 18 inches long on each side, and that has 3 rod holders on it on each side. And then there's a square that way I can fit my legs into the square if I'm fishing from the back of the kayak. That's got another 8 rod holders back there. But they're the vertical tube rod holders, so they're also doubled for storage, rod storage.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so that's where
that's why I have so many rod holders, is because I like the options. I'm always going to have 8 rods on the kayak, even though I'm not going to use 8. The max I'll use is 6. But if I break off and say I'm in a tournament or something, I'm just reach around, grab another rod, and get it in the water.
There you go.
But
so that's the efficiency speaking out.
Yep. And then my front rod holders, say I'm fishing from the back of the kayak, I don't need those front rod holders. We built a quick release system for the front rod holders.
Okay.
So those come off while I'm fishing from the back of the kayak.
Now you have you have a new canoe, so you have not all kayaks have this, obviously. So more and more of them are doing it, but you have a 360 revolver seat, so you
Yes.
can fish from behind the
Yes.
behind the seat. For a lot of other sit on top kayaks like my Hobie, I can't turn the seat backwards unless I'm okay with it not being attached to the boat, which obviously in my case I am not. So that option is not a thing for me.
And, I mean, you've seen me do it. You've seen me just
I have.
completely play around.
That was the only chance he had at possibly untangling that mess, was the fact that he could turn around.
I mean, I turned around, pulled the trolling motor off the kayak and everything, and
Yes, I remember. But you would not, it would not have been an option if you couldn't have turned around. You would have had to just go in and cut everything or whatever.
even cutting everything wouldn't untangled it. I'd still have to take the prop off.
Bank fishing adventures, that's a good point. Yet, so these sit on top kayaks are way more stable than you would think. And certain brands are even way more stable than another, even from brand to brand or even model to model. Stability can be completely insane. I know my Hobie is a triple pontoon style. I'm not mistaken. The new canoe Frontier that you're using is I don't think it's triple pontoon, but it's very similar. It's a very wide base.
Yes.
Base to length is where the stability comes into play.
When
And
I got my new canoe, we put it in a pool. And I literally got on my big self, got on one side of that kayak standing up and was jumping up and down. Kayak never flipped. So I fell off the kayak before it flipped because I lost my balance.
And so it's based on the width of the kayak. My Hobie, I can't remember off the top of my head. We can look it up. I mean, it's not that big. It's not that hard to find. I think mine is 40 inches wide, and I think that his was 42. It's like 2 inches difference.
I thought mine was 44.
So mine was 42, but it was only like 2 inches difference.
Yeah.
But the weight capacity completely the same. Mine tracks a little faster based on its design, but mine will actually flip easier than his will.
Yes.
And so there's a fine line, and it's based on each company. Each company makes their own design, and it's all different and all that good stuff. But it's just something to keep in mind. It's actually very surprising how stable these things are. Think about it, John boat versus canoe. That's the easiest example I get for a lot of people. If you're in a single canoe, there's no pontoons there. It's literally just a singular tube. Extremely easy to flip. The sit-in kayaks that are like that too for whitewater rafting, they want those to be able to flip in a hurry, because if you flip it upside down, they want you to be able to flip back up so you can breathe, right? They're made to flip fast. But then when you start adding these extra pontoons, you go from, a little stick boat to literally a pontoon boat. The bigger it is, the wider they are, the more stable they are, and then the higher weight capacity too, which makes a big difference. When we're, I'm almost 400 pounds, and I'm going after. I'm hoping someday catch a 100-pound fish out of my kayak. So I had to have something that had at least a 550-pound capacity, and it very quickly automatically puts you in sit on top kayaks. It automatically puts you on wide kayaks, and then on top of that, the whole design is a major factor. So,
yeah, you gotta think about all that.
Yep, makes a big difference.
And if you're like me, when I first got my kayak, I didn't like putting holes in my kayak.
Yeah, that's another thing to think about. And Hillbilly Honda makes a good point. They make outriggers to put on the kayak, but obviously dealing with that, then you're worrying about your turning ability and whatnot because of extra drag on the water and stuff like that too. So I mean, there are options to help with that. But generally speaking, your wider, flatter kayaks are typically going to have a better stability and a better weight capacity. Typically speaking, not always.
Well, anybody that's watched my channel, I'm clumsy on a boat. You give me
on the
more.
bank.
Hush. It's still the same point. You give me more space, I don't know what to do with it. You put me on a kayak, you put me on my rig, I'm at home. Like, I know where everything is. It's just right there in hand's reach because I built a custom drawer system for my kayak. I've done all this stuff just to make it more convenient for me. And I've got it built the way I want it. And that's a big thing to think about. You got to really sit down and think how you're going to build your kayak. And it's a lot of trial and error too.
Well,
So
anybody,
what might work for me might not work for somebody else.
I was about to say, and everybody's gonna be different. Everybody's gonna have a different setup that works for them. Everybody's gonna have a different preference. Obviously, left-handed or right hand is gonna be different. For me, I like using my paddle storage. I get to be on the right hand side because I am right-handed. It's just to me that feels the safest. You know, if I'm in a sketchy spot and I really need my paddle to turn or push off something, well, I can throw my rod in the boat and grab that quick, and I'm good to go. But it's much easier for me to grab my right hand than it is for my left hand. Whereas the opposite for me, if I'm using my anchor, it's on the left hand side 9 times out of 10 because that's not. I'm hoping to be able to kind of just set it and forget it. I'm not trying to get to it in a hurry unless there's a really bad accident or something or a big wave coming because a barge comes through or something. But that's a whole other situational awareness issue too. I mean, you hopefully are never in that kind of situation.
So this is just random. I guarantee it. My setup is a little bit different than all of your guys' besides of the obvious. I'm ambidextrous, so I have a left-handed rope for the left side and I have a right-handed rope for the right side.
Hi, buddy.
What's up?
I'm 100% ambidextrous. I can do everything with both hands.
I can't write with my left, but I can do everything. I broke my right hand and I was in a cast for like 8 months, something like that, because I knew this.
Y'all are just showing off at this point.
And yeah, so I had to teach myself.
I can even shoot pull ambidextrous, man.
I can't shoot pull with either hand. Like I'm not even.
All right, note to myself: don't play pool with these guys. All right, let's see.
Yeah, don't. That's not smart. I'm
No,
really
like I guarantee it, you'd beat me. Like I say.
Trying to make sure I didn't miss any more questions before we keep going. I don't want to leave anybody feeling like they're left out here. But I will say I'm going to go and take a minute just before it gets too late here and before I forget. We do have the 500/1000 sub giveaway for the Extra Outdoors channel coming up this coming Thursday. It'll start at 9 p.m. We are giving away a fishing rod. It's a TFR Cabbage rod. It's actually that orange one behind my shoulder right there, that one. We're giving that one away along with a rod sock, along with a bunch of other gear, hooks, floats, all that good stuff. We even have a kayak tie-up rack we're giving away as well. Just one of the ones, the styrofoam blocks and rope for anybody who's getting into kayak fishing. Possibly have a chance to need to get that too. If you are already here and are already subscribed, then you do have a chance to get in that live stream. You do have to be a subscriber for at least a week to be able to get in. So the deadline would have been the 22nd, but just reminding everybody that's here, if you are subscribed, make sure you're there. You have a chance to win some stuff.
I think it was like your third sub. I got a question.
Something like that. What you got?
Yeah. So part of your giveaway, would there be a purple and black spinnerbait? Just curious.
A purple or black spinner bait? There is not going to be a purple or black spinner bait.
All right.
There's not.
I would just bringing that bet on the dinosaur egg a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that's I got you. There is not. That definitely should have been something I thought about. I did not think about that. However, there is two. There's gonna be 2 gift cards. Winners pick on those for either Bass Pro Academy or Cabela's. So if you're just so savvy and you want one of those gift cards, you could get a purple or black spinnerbait.
Wait, I'm eligible. I thought because I was like, all right. I was going to be there anyways, but now I'm different.
I mean, if you're a subscriber, you're good to go, right?
Well, I was going to be there anyways. I already got popcorn. But it's not
popcorn.
pop. It's not pop, but
Yeah, well, yeah.
I can't go fishing and watch you.
That's true. That is true. So, Sam, is there anything that you are wanting to try in your kayak as a new setup, and what's the thought process behind any of these new things you want to experiment with?
I kind of want to experiment with the pedal kayak.
Sure. With one leg.
Well, I would wear the other one. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
The old one that I don't like, or the peg leg. So, it's only worth like $20. You got to buy a broom. So that's something that I'm. What's that?
At least if you did the shotgun leg, you have a little more of a footprint for your pedal.
Yeah, and if I need a.
I mean, even if it makes you mad, you can blow the pedal off. I mean,
the amount of tourists that we get in the summertime, like our town would be like, is normally in the winter about 500, year-round residents. In the summer, it goes about 15,000. So if I had a shotgun leg, on a river or a lake, we can
You'd be in trouble.
for a co-host.
But yeah, but sure, and obviously
easier.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Just make sure they're out of the way in the first place, and you don't have to worry about getting held up.
No, just like kind of like hillbilly fishing with dynamite, except for you just got to get out.
Yeah,
that's all. Stick the one leg over the kayak and boom.
What? I had Taco Bell before I went fishing. Leave me alone.
No, geez. Brings a whole nother level of propulsion there. All right, Zach, you have a question from a fan. Hillbilly Honda wants to know, Viking, if you have any videos of your unlimited posted. He wants to see your rod holder setup.
No, I can do one when I get home.
You should. I think it'd be interesting. I know I need to do one myself. I do try to talk about and show what I'm doing when I'm actually out in the kayak, stuff like that.
Well, I've got to finish buying all the rod holders first because 14
rod
holders.
That's true. You have the racks. You don't have the holders. Yeah, I got you. Is there anything you're wanting to experiment with in regards to either this upcoming Florida trip for redfish or new catfish stuff you want to mess with? And if so, what is it and why?
Well, I built the kayak drag from, and I still haven't properly drugged from it, so I want to try that. Where I'm facing the back and actually pulling 6 rods. Oh crap! I was supposed to. About fell. My bad.
Remember the whole no balance thing? He was about to prove the point right there.
What's in that root beer you were drinking?
Oh, geez.
Root beer. 1 second, that scared me. But I want to try to bump this year under the dam in it.
Now, that's one thing that I know I want to do out of the kayak, but obviously I'll have to do it facing upstream, which means I'm probably going to be doing it below Nickajack Dam instead of Chickamauga because I don't necessarily want to try to thread the needle between the railroad bridge pillars while I'm not looking at it. That just seems like a bad idea. So that's definitely something I want to try this year too.
See, I'm lucky in that point. I can be facing the right.
Right. You have the 360 seat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
As for me, I kind of went over my setups for you guys earlier. It's pretty much the same for bass or crappie. If I'm needing to be able to read my side scan, then I'm gonna have that up closer to my seat for me. One thing I want to do with catfishing, because on those I'm typically following just a contour line, following a ledge, following a creek channel, whatever. So I'm actually hoping I'm working to be able to have the fish finder actually up in front of me, so I have more foot space around my rod holders. Because one thing I found last year, chasing after these bigger catfish, is I was running out of room around my feet pretty quick with that fish finder being right there kind of in the way in between 2 of my rod holders. So I'm hoping to be able to do that where the fish finder is actually up closer to my camera mount to hopefully be a little more
the opposite direction I did. I put my fish finder right beside me.
Right. That's where I have mine now. But my 2 back rods that I usually drag with, the handles go under the seat. So if a fish hits it really hard and turns that rod holder at all, well, then that fish finder is in my way, and I risk bumping it or worse, knocking it off into the river if I was to break one of the arms on it or something like that when I get that rod holder out. So I want to get that out of the way. So I'm hoping to do that. And then eventually down the line, I'd like to upgrade to a bigger screen, but just because I'm getting old and it's hard to see. But
feel you.
Then the other thing I really want to do, I want to mess a little more with shallow water anchoring rather than using a kettleball and a string all the time. So actually for this Florida trip, especially, I'm going to invest in a Yak Attack makes a, they call it a parking pole, but they have a handle on the end of it. So you can use like a push pole with it. And I want to get a setup where I can have that on my left-hand side also. So I'll have my paddle set up on my right-hand side and have that on the left-hand side. And then obviously if I'm standing up fishing, as long as I'm less than 12 feet of water, then I can anchor from standing up by just shoving the pole on the ground. And I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. Those are kind of my
metal.
They're metal, but they come in 3 different sections, so you can make them as long or as short as you want.
Well, my thing about you using it in salt water, you're looking at corrosion. That might be the only time you ever use it.
It don't matter.
Yeah,
It don't matter.
I need to wash it or
You went robotic really bad, Sam.
So did you, Anthony.
I did too. That's not good. Hang on, I'll be right back.
You sound really cool.
Hi guys.
Hey,
We have taken over the show.
all right. So now that he's out, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, he's back, Sam.
Am I still robotic?
Yeah.
What happened? That's not good. That's not good at all.
It's your fault.
Probably.
Definitely, we were just by ourselves on the conference.
Bear with us, I guess.
Yeah, I think we were fine till you came back.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fantastic. All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, so what are we talking about? Yeah, park and pull. So I mean, just like anything else, if you use any kind of freshwater gear in saltwater, then obviously you got to keep it washed and make sure it's maintained. Rinse it off, wash it out good, or have stuff that's galvanized or stuff that's sealed really well to keep the salt water out. So I don't foresee it being a problem personally, but we'll have to just see. But either way, even if it's just I got to replace that pole every couple of years, I mean, it's still worth the ability to push around those marshes and that salt flat because especially with I have an older Hobie, so the fins I have don't have the kick up option, which a lot of the newer ones do. If you hit something in shallower water, it kicks the fins up to prevent from breaking the drive. So because I don't have that option, I don't really want to have. I want to have another way to push around in shallower water, especially around oyster beds, or those bluff walls and stuff like that that you end up with in shallow water sometimes. So that's those are my two big things. Like I said, I'm trying to mount the fish finder up further forward to be out of my way for when I'm fishing for catfish, because I don't necessarily need to see the great huge detail as long as I can see the contour line to follow it. Anchor planer boards. I actually want to start dragging planer boards from the kayak because normally I just drag the two baits straight behind me, but the problem with that is it's only 4 feet in between them. I'm hoping to be able to push that out and be able to extend my lane that I'm drifting. Or dragging either way you want to look at it. Having the two further out, even if it's only like another 4 feet out. I mean, I'm tripling my coverage that way: 4 feet to the left, 4 feet to the right, and the 4 foot wide in the middle, with the two being suspended. So that's kind of my changes for the year, for catfishing at least. And then the bass fishing perspective, like I said, I plan on me myself. It's not so much an upgrade for my kayak, it's an upgrade for myself. I plan on trying to work on my flexibility more, and my comfort level of trying to be able to stand up and fish more. But I'll probably have to put in a stand assist strap for those really sketchy days. While I'm getting up until I get used to that. Other than that, my kayak pretty much can stay the same. Like I said, the idea that I can adapt it to whatever I need it to be is my goal. Obviously, you guys were talking about it too for your guys' stuff, and that goes for anybody else in the crowd too. I mean, the idea that you have the system that you set up, once you have it set up, little micro changes from species to species is going to put you in a better spot to be efficient. And the more efficient you are, more time you're on the water, more time you have baits in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. I mean, that's what it all boils down to, right?
yeah.
And with that being said, like I said, I know tonight's show is a little short than normal, but with that being the case, it is a long weekend. I'm tired as well. I'm probably going to go ahead and start thinking about calling it soon. Do you guys have any questions in the chat? Definitely would be glad to answer those quick for you guys. If you have any comments, concerns, or even if you want to tell us a little bit about your setups, we'll be glad to hear about that and offer our opinions. If you had any ideas you needed to run by somebody for a second opinion, we're definitely happy to do that too. But while you're typing those out, like I said, we got the giveaway coming up on Thursday at 9 p.m. We're giving away that rod, giving away a bunch of other stuff. It's gonna be good. Hope to see you guys all there. For those that were at the conference, I was out this weekend. Glad I got to meet you. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Try to catch you on the next one. Zach and Sam, do you guys have any final words on either today's topics or just something in general that the crowd know about?
Hillbilly Hondo asked about how many planer boards to pull in a kayak. I pull four, 2 sets of planer boards on mine.
If I'm not mistaken, Ryan Bortz also does 4. And there was somebody else I think that also did 4 from his kayak.
I'm
as
only
well.
allowed 2.
But until you learn how to pull planer boards from a kayak, I suggest only doing a set.
But I only plan on doing 2 just because I don't want to mess with that. I just don't want to mess with that. I mean, I would have to put 2 more rod holders on my kayak, which then it puts the same problem I already have with the fish finder being in the way, because obviously the easy way to do is to space them in the middle between the front and the back ones. And yeah, I don't mess with that.
See, with me being able to turn it around, I can pull 6 lines out the back of the kayak, no problem.
Yeah, you can have that. You can have that. That's fine. Well, with that being said, seems like all the questions are done. Thanks for coming in, guys. You've been watching the Bait Tank podcast. Today we talked about conventions, seminars, expos, even fishing. We didn't talk about that too much, but the idea that you can get with these other anglers, get with these other vendors, see new stuff, get good deals on stuff, learn more things from people that may or may not know what they're talking about, just depending on who we talk about anyway. And it's for the most part, it's definitely a pro. Very little cons to those things other than maybe the drive to get there. And then we talked about kayak setups. We talked about all of our individual kayak setups, why we do it the way we do it, and if we were going to change things, what we were changing or why we were changing it. But the biggest thing from that, we just want to make sure you guys are aware that having a system, just like anything else, is going to make you more efficient. And obviously being more efficient is going to put you on more fish in the long run. Yeah, so with that being said, my name is Anthony. Joining me with Zach and Sam. My wife was in here for a little bit too. Appreciate it, guys, as always. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. So take it easy. If you ever need to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of me at yakshoreoutdoors@yahoo.com. The email address is in the end credits. Is also in the description below if you need to get a hold of us for any reason. And appreciate each and every one of you. Tight lines. Hope you get on some fish soon. And again, we'll see you guys next time. So, tight lines.
Peace.